Okay, I'm back. These are starting to dry. You've got to have a steady hand. I had too much coffee today, so I came back and I worked on this one a little bit. So I'm just kind of going back and forth with these, and here's another one that had some fun colors on it. So now what I'm going to do, here's the red one. It is still wet, so we're going to leave that alone. This one is dry by now. So I'm going to, let's kind of work on some color on here. I'm going to show you another thing that you can do. I'm just going to take some straight red. So what I had showed you, we got this wet, so we had the variated from the light to dark. Now what you can do too, there's another thing you can do when you're doing stripes and bands on these guys. You don't have to get the stripe wet if you don't want to. Some of the designs on them, if you want them really dark. But you've got to be pretty. You got to make sure you have enough water. So I'm just doing this dry. So that's if you want to have a little bit more control. You would do it this way. I'm just going to, you can bear with me, just kind of go back and forth. So this is doing it dry, where it doesn't have the, and if you have to, just flip it around so that you can see it. And if you're not able to move your paint, it probably means you don't have enough water. Because water will enable you to get a smooth flow going. So as I go, so if you want to have a little bit more control, this is, I'm just doing one that's dry. I got out of the line there a little bit. And I just kind of, once I have my paint in, then I can put more paint on top of it. There, and I've got a little bit more control. So I did this one dry. Now what you can do, if you do want to lighten it up, since you do have your little bit lighter up here, you can take your dry brush. I squeezed it, and you can just kind of lighten it, maybe on some of this area. Maybe it would be a little bit lighter right here. Or not, whatever you want to do. So there's another one, and then I'll wait for that to dry before I hit that other line. So on here, let's go ahead and put some red on this one. And we're nice and dry, so I can put my hand on it. This one again, I'm just going to dry brush it in. Got a little on the lavender there. And again, once I put it in, put my paint back on top of it and make it a bit darker. And then if you want to, you can, since you're a little bit lighter up here, again, squeeze your brush a little bit and maybe lighten it on the top. Just use, I don't have any paint in there. I had a dry brush. And then kind of darken it here. If you want it a little darker here, again, take your brush, give it a squeeze. So you have a nice transition. That's really pretty. This one, maybe I'll take some red. Here we go. And maybe I'll do a little line with my liner. Oh, that was a good one. Yay! Maybe I'll do one down here too. Maybe we'll do a red one down here. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. And you can scream when you're doing this. The harder you push, the fatter your line's going to be. That looks pretty good. And maybe we'll do, let's see if I can do it like a skinnier one. Maybe it disappeared behind there. And it came out over here. Or what I can do, if it kind of got, here's a great, you can go ahead and fill it in. If it got kind of wonky right there, this is a great thing. So when you do have like a little mistake, just make it thicker. It's a pain in the neck to maybe it went that way. That looks really good. And then maybe you can say, well, there's maybe a tiny one that just disappeared back there. That looks great. So that's kind of how you do these. You know, and then you can just have like a band or what have you on them. I'm going to also show you how to do the shadow. If you're nervous, so it's going to cast a shadow and it kind of goes to a little point, you can draw it in where I have drawn one in right here. If not, you can freehand a shadow and just kind of, it's going to be down at the base and kind of go out. And so the color I use for the shadow, I like to use ultramarine blue and black. Kind of get this cleaned up, and we'll do a quick shadow. So ultramarine blue and a little bit of black, and I will show you. And it's really watered down so you can see through it. Ultramarine blue. You don't want the shadow to overpower the painting. So ultramarine blue and a little bit of black. Water it down, and it's going to look like that. Ultramarine blue and black. So all you're going to do is get a brush that you've got. I'm going to take a number 4 so I have a little bit of control. And I usually, what I'll do is I'll, I think, you can go with the number 4. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to start down here, and they kind of go down at a slant. Start about right under here. Bigger the ball, bigger the marble, the bigger the shadow. Draw it in like that. And you're working pretty fast. Take your brush, I'm dipping it in water, and just go. And then add a little, after you kind of get you kind of drew it in, make sure it's really pretty light. Then you can just kind of add some more color as it's wet. There's your shadow. And you can be a little bit lighter. The further away from the marble, it would be a little bit lighter. The shadow would be darker underneath your marble. That looks good. And there's your shadow. And it just anchored it.